A Shipwrecked Sailor, Daniel Defoe, the author and the text. Daniel Defoe was born in 1660 and died in 1731. He was an English writer and journalist. He is most famous for his novel Robinson Crusoe. A prolific and versatile writer, Defoe is also known for pamphlets and journals on various topics. The following text is adapted from a section of Daniel Defoe's famous novel Robinson Crusoe, and tells us how Crusoe, after being shipwrecked, found himself on a dismal island. It also gives us an inspiring account of how he makes the island habitable with his hard work. Surviving and changing are big ideas in stories. They talk about how people can keep going and change when things get really tough, like when things are hard physically, mentally, or in nature. These ideas are usually in stories about people who have to deal with really tough situations. They have to learn new things, see things differently, and become stronger. Do you have read any story on this theme of survival and adaptation? Yes, Anna, please share.
Robinson Crusoe, by Daniel Defoe. This book is a great example of survival and change. Robinson Crusoe gets stuck on an island, and he has to do a lot of things to stay alive, like finding food and shelter. He also has to deal with being alone. He has to learn how to live on the island.
Thanks, Anna. Yes, Archie, I think you have something to share. Okay, tell the class.
Life of Pi, by Jan Martel. This book tells the story of Pi Patel, a young boy who ends up on a small boat in the middle of the ocean with a big tiger. Pi has to figure out how to live with this dangerous animal and deal with being hungry, cold, and alone. His journey shows how people can change and adapt to very hard situations.
Wow, that's great. Thanks, Archie. Now let's move on to the video on today's lesson, A Shipwrecked Sailor. Hope you all will enjoy. I request all of you to catch up the theme while you watch.
On September 30, 1659, I, miserable Robinson Crusoe, being shipwrecked during a violent storm, came on shore on this dismal island. I call it the Island of Despair. I was almost dead and the rest of my ship's company was drowned. I had neither food, house nor clothes. I feared I would be devoured by wild beasts. When night came, I slept in a tree for fear of wild creatures. It rained all night. The rain continued through the next day with gusts of wind. Only a wreck of my ship was to be seen at low water. I swam to the wreck to rescue and secure for my survival some food and other provisions. I was able to collect some wood, cable, string, a knife, nails and a gun. I also collected a hammock and some canvas with which I made a tent. I got some ink and paper. I also found some money, but they were useless to me in this barren island. I was some 100 leagues out of the ordinary course of the trade of mankind. I was convinced I had to spend the rest of my life alone in this wild, desolate island. I searched long for a place of safe habitation. I found a little plain on the side of a rising hill. On the rocky wall of the hill there was a hollow place worn in, like the entrance to a cave. On the flat of the green, just before this hollow, I resolved to pitch my tent. I cut the wood I collected into stakes. I drove them into the ground in a semicircle around my tent. The stakes stood 6 inches apart from each other. I put the cables I had rescued from the ship around the stakes in the manner of a fence. I used a short ladder to go over the fence. Once in, I withdrew the ladder after me so that I was completely fortified against the world outside. Into this tent I brought all my stores and provisions. After I had been on the island for 10 or 12 days, it occurred to me that I would lose the measure of time. This was because I had neither watch nor calendar. To prevent this, I cut with my knife upon a large post the date of my landing. I put a notch with my knife for every day. After a long spell of rain, I saw some fair weather around 7th November. I spent the next couple of days making small wood boxes to keep my provisions dry from the rain. Among the things I rescued from the ship there was a small bag of corns meant for poultry feed. Most of it had been devoured by rats. I saw nothing but husks and dusts in the bag. I emptied the contents outside my wall. This was a little time before the great rains. A month later I discovered green stalks shooting out of the ground. I was astonished to discover it was perfect green barley. By the June of 1660, I had gained security of food and shelter. In this same month I developed a high fever and lay weak and thirsty. I recovered around 30th and gradually felt stronger than the day before. On 15th of July I took a more particular survey of the island. Around 2 miles up, I found a brook with pleasant meadows by its bank, plain, smooth and covered by grass. In a woody part I found melons in great abundance, and grape trees. The grapes were ripe and rich. Further into the land I found a great number of cocoa, orange and lemon trees. I carried great parcels of fruit homeward and the journey took me 3 days. I was tempted to transfer my habitation to this valley of fruits. I did not, because I still hoped to be rescued by some passing ship on the sea. I did not want to enclose myself in hill and woods. I stayed in view of the sea. 10 months had passed since I had set foot on this island. Previously I had no lamp after dark. I collected a little tallow and a small clay dish. To this I added a wick. I had thus made myself a lamp. I now began to seriously consider the circumstance I was reduced to. I decided to describe my state of affairs in writing. I began to keep a journal of every day's employment. I could not include all particulars because gradually I ran out ink. I found, by the notches I cast on the post, it was September 30th again. I had spent 365 days on this island.
If you enjoyed our video lesson, then give this video a like. Share this video with your friends and families. This small act will encourage us a lot. And if you did not subscribe our channel, then please subscribe it. Thanks for watching. Happy learning.